was just along the parts where he would say things like, Rudy just now yelled, "It's it's a fraud, it's a calamity." Like,
Well, okay. On my live stream, and by the way, we're up and running now. Hurrah! I got it fixed. I
oh, we're
can't.
on the YouTubes.
Yeah, we are. We're firing on all cylinders. It seems to be all right. Um,
So I
so
want to thank out loud. Sorry about this, but
yeah,
on the YouTubes, Sean Stuckey, who's watching right now, supplied me with this ring light that
lovely.
you can see. You can see it in my glasses
That's
right
right.
there.
That's right. Absolutely. You're like one of those girls who does makeup tutorials now. It's
That's
adorable.
right.
It's adorbs.
So,
Um,
and Sean he's a graphic artist. He's an activist. He is a great singer. I've been in a band with him. He's a delightful young man, and he's a huge Hal Sparks fan.
well, he obviously did us a solid
Yes, he
um,
did.
by lighting up our Johnny. Hello,
Aw.
however you want to put that. Um, but all right, so there has to be at some point, I think, anyways, an end to this, an end game, a situation where in where he knows it's over, and Rudy is going to have to break the bad news. I mean, he's going to have to. Somebody is going to have to tell him it's done at some point. Now, there are, and we'll talk about this when we come back after the break. There are possibilities for what Trump might do after he leaves office.
I can't wait.
I agree. And I think the primary was I don't care. As long as he's out of there, he'll go back to being harmless and useless the way he was before. And yes, for a while, his sycophants will follow him.
Yep.
But after a while, they're going to give up on it. They really are. A lot of them already have, and we'll talk about that when we come back. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, mega worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. We're now up on twitch.tv/Hal Sparks. Oh my gosh, it's working, kinda. All right, we'll be back.
Working
Kinda.
I couldn't remember Sean's Instagram.
Oh, well. Learn it during the break. That's
About to happen.
That's right. The problem with being tied to these things. Hi, chat room. Hi, everybody. I'm like Rachel Maddow right now. I just heard a noise. I'll be right back. Okay. I know this is totally unprofessional, but let me wire this up.
Hi, Flora.
Yeah, I literally. Okay. So, sonically, we're okay. It sounds okay in my ears, but that's never any indication of what's going out actually over the whatnots and the here-tos. Whew. Thanks, Can't Stop Lying. Oh my God, thank you. Yeah, this is. I mean, Summer was worried about me. My girlfriend was worried about me last night because I was like,
Why?
Because I've been hitting the wall with trying to get the stream back up and running, and it had been crapping out and like for all sorts of odd reasons, and I couldn't get it. Like there was every time I need one, it would always be one pivotal piece of software would die lining up with each of these, and I've had to literally do this like whole reworking to get it up and running, and God, it's a bit of a tooth pull, especially after the week of Sexy Liberal. I slept 30. I didn't sleep for 36 hours. Yeah, Thursday into Friday. Thank you, Mark. And by the way, I noticed a couple other super chats in there as well. You guys, bless you. Thanks. I'm gonna move these screens around so we can see what's going on. What's going on? You got to survive. I like literally that phrase has gotten me through, which is from Jiminy Glick when he's eating it. You got to do what you got to do. You got to survive. When he stuffs he stuffs a whole donut in his face.
Jiminy Glick is so amazing.
His description of him matches something, and Martin and I talked about this at one point when I got a chance to speak with him about Jiminy. He goes, he's always been fascinated by morons with power.
Mm-hmm.
And I always called them kings of small kingdoms.
Yeah.
You know, the angry toll booth operator who knows you can't leave until they lift the bar so they're mad at you for coins. So they just, instead of they've got a thing that counts it, they just toss it in.
Wait a minute.
Thank you. All they got to do is throw it in there and get it over with. But they're like, not today. It's just such a dick move. And that's in many ways what Jiminy is. But that phrase where he's like, you got to do what you got to do. You got to survive. And I literally, I'm like, everything's failing. Everything's breaking. Nothing will go together. Why won't it work? Why do I have to put my password back into the software for the 9th time? What the hell is going on? And then I'm like, you got to survive. I literally get back at it. Summer has heard me say it out loud by myself in the basement while I'm looking through bags of wires going, why is this not, what are dead cables doing here? Why did I keep these? You got to survive.
Is there anything more aggravating than finding a dead cable?
This is Doris Davenport, host of the Doris Davenport Show. All local, all the time. Now let's get back to Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Didn't I dismiss you from your duties?
Yes. Johnny Million and I were discussing something that I think is maybe a little inside for most people. But when you're, especially for musicians, this happens a lot. A dead XLR cable or quarter-inch instrument cable that doesn't work anymore. And you keep going, why is it still in the box? And you went through and you plugged it in. You're kind of in a hurry.
And why is it coiled up again? Why is it coiled up neatly?
Who coiled this up and put it back in the box like it actually deserves to be here, right?
And it was probably me.
Yeah, I probably did that like a moron. So Rudy Giuliani is a dead cord. That's what I'm basically getting at. That's what that he keeps coiling him up and putting him back in the box to be used later as if he actually is functional. They mixed up in their filings this week, Michigan and Minnesota, because they both start with an M. If you watch, and I have, God help me, Rudy Giuliani's ridiculous vlogcast that he does, and I know glass houses. But at least mine's charming and not at all creepy, and I'm not selling you cigars and home title lock in a rotation. But even on his own show, he'll start to drift about the rules in Michigan and what's going and their suit in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and how the count is going on in Georgia. And all the rules, because they're established by legislatures, are different in each of these states. So you have to crucially be aware while you're discussing these things, not to overlap them, because you create the illusion that you know what the law is when you absolutely do not.
You have to be able to tell them apart, is what you're saying.
Yes. And it's one thing to not do it on your stupid, streaming internet show when you're messing around in your oak house with your weird little hole in the desk behind you.
Oh, in the chat, some people are flexing that they even know the post office abbreviations for Michigan and Minnesota.
I'm not sure he does. And by the way,
can I flex right now?
Yes.
Watch this. One hand.
Drinking water. That's just cruel. That's just cruel, Johnny Mill. Why would you do such a thing to a man? You gotta survive. So on his own show, he'll get to the point where he's drifting off about stuff, and he'll start talking about the rules in Michigan like they're the rules in Pennsylvania, or the rules in Pennsylvania like they're the rules in Wisconsin, or that the case they have in Wisconsin and the witnesses, and this is the worst part, the witnesses that they have in Wisconsin are the same as the witnesses they have. He'll say, we've got 50 affidavits on this.
I can't show these to you.
I can't. No. I mean, I don't want these people to be attacked. Why would they be attacked if what they were saying stands up to scrutiny? I don't understand. So there is no way this plays out positively for Donald John Trump. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to break it to his legal team, if you want to call them that. If you have your point person from the RNC who's saying, if you're asking for evidence, you literally don't know how this works. You've got Rudy Giuliani sweating motor oil and showing up in the parking lot of a landscaping company between a porn shop and a crematorium
The New York Times had an opinion piece on what they think was leaking out of Giuliani's head.
They did?
They interviewed hairstylists and
really?
makeup artists. Yeah.
Why?
Because it was something constructive.
It had to be spray on hair, right?
That's what I was thinking.
That Ron Popeil's. Remember the Ron Popeil stuff? There's they used to have the.
I sprayed this on now. I mean,
it's
I might have underapplied.
Yeah, that's right. You might need to go an extra. You might need a second coat.
Yeah, I might need to go a little heavier.
That's right. No, we have those Ron Popeil ads. They would show it, and it was the scariest thing ever. Because you're like, I'm watching television. You're spray painting this man's head. What am I supposed? What do you think I'm supposed to think I'm seeing? This is insanity.
Yep. You
right?
sure spray painted the top of his head.
Taka. You're about to tag this man. This is not hair. You're about to make him look like a subway car in a musical from New York in the 70s. What is this? Yeah. And I don't. Here's the thing. Rudy's hair
was so uncomfortable. He was so warm.
Oh, it was the sweatiest thing, and it was the RNC's room. Now, the biggest problem I had beyond the sweatiness and the fact that he had basically a QAnon point person, and what were the two?
She's got like a weird drunk mom vibe.
Oh yeah, she is that. Excuse me, if you don't have a key fob, you're not allowed in the pool area, black people.
Yeah.
Kind of she definitely gives off that, can I see your manager?
And she says wine o'clock.
That's right. It's always wine o'clock somewhere.
I see your kitty.
Huh? Oh, Murph. Murph is walking by in the background. They can't see him, but you can. Murph.
Oh.
Murph, where are you going? Trying to get in the closet and play with us. I don't know what he's doing. He's trying to find.
It's the closet
of dead wires. The closet of dead wires. He's trying to get in there.
That's right. He's the one putting them back in the good
pile. Oh, Murphy, you cruel. He's trying to open the door. Murph, get out of there. He can open doors.
Tony Macaroni just said, "Well, Rudy's snot hanky wipe was pretty disgusting."
Oh my God! I mean, honestly,
we were talking about that.
Yeah. If you were in court. The defense, if the prosecution or the plaintiff did that, the defense would go, Your Honor, I move for an immediate dismissal. There is no way. There is no way I'm taking that argument. You're not listening to anything from this. We're in a pandemic, and he's wiping his own snot back on his own face and then touching everything. What has happened? This is not a person who is capable of logic, balanced thinking. Oh, my God. So
I couldn't not have a verbal reaction. Like when I watched it, I'm like,
I think it speaks to the professionalism of the reporters that were in the room that they did not. The whole crowd didn't go, oh, like we all did.
Or like there was a big no, no.
So but I also think it's interesting in the same way that the people who came, there were reporters there. At one point, there was this gotcha moment that was viral amongst right-wing Twitter, which was Rudy started doing the Trump thing of what fake news organization are you from? And the person said CNN. And everybody on the thing went, yeah. And you're like, and literally followed it up with Jenna Ellis chastising the news media for not covering what they were saying, while the room was full of people that were covering what they were saying. They literally, I said this during the stream because I was it seemed so obvious to me that if they'd looked into the camera and said, I want to call out the media who didn't show up today and isn't covering this, right? Because we're streaming this. They know this, right? But you folks, college radio and the Christian Science Monitor's, biannual leaflet are here. Thank you guys for showing up, but those fake news outlets won't cover this. They were all there. They were all live streaming it. Rudy kept saying repeatedly that there was an iron curtain of information where they were, the media was an iron curtain that they were shutting out this message. Then following it up with, I'm not going to show you what these affidavits say. I can read 2 of them. By the way, if you want,
hundreds of them. I got dozens of these.
I got
qualifying.
They're coming out of my ears. I'm not going to show them to you, and we're not going to use them in court. And every time we present them in court, they get thrown out. And it's because it's hearsay on top of hearsay on top of rumor. This is a real issue for the Trump campaign. Like, as cartoonishly silly as this is, and again, I gotta say, a lot of people are worried about the damage Trump is doing to the country. I'm sure there's some real reason to be concerned, but I think the reality is that we live in such a media-savvy world that this is going to come and go like everything else. Think of the Kanye travesty, or 2 over the last couple of years. Think of Britney Spears shaving her head and, and that being an ongoing saga. There is, live by the short attention span, die by the short attention span is where Trump finds himself right now. And the reality is that they can't keep their own thoughts together long enough to have a cohesive legal argument that they can present to the public, right? They can't, the public sitting there, the news people are going, I don't understand what you're actually talking about.
Yep.
I don't know what your argument is. Show me the evidence so I know at least something that solidifies, please. And the argument is, no, I'm not going to show you this. But you have to keep it together in your head, all the different things I'm saying about all the different states, even though I can't. It's embarrassing. It's an embarrassment to Trump and his family and that group if they were capable of being embarrassed.
And Connie Kelly just noted in the chat that Rudy's pleadings will be shown in legal classrooms all over the country as examples of how not to put on a case.
Yeah.
The actual documents were not created according to normal format.
No, at all. And they think they can get away with it. They think they can slapdash this. They've been so used to the system that Trump has grown up in, which is the New York real estate market and the legal wiggle room that everybody is afforded in that he thinks it's going to carry forward to the rest of it. That's why he thinks he's been battered by unfair investigations his entire time in office.
And aren't these like conservative judges?
Yeah, all of them. A big portion of them are people he's put in office. Yeah. So, yeah, there's no
There's
upside.
Still judges that want to stay judges.
That's exactly right. That's right. He has to understand he's put people on who are as egotistical and as concerned about their public image and how they're spoken of in the community as he is, if not more so, and have a long game as human beings. So we got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. WCPT820.com is the website. Listen to a couple of our sponsors. Do them some business. They're good people. We'll be back. Oh, good Lord. Okay, everything's working. Look at that. And it's a nice solid crowd. Everybody's gathered. I can't get this little side light. Oh, I know why.
Calming voice.
Silly man.
Is it Murph?
Huh? No. I was like, why is my backlight for my green screen not on? Which creates kind of this haze behind me. It looks like I'm living in a mist of Rudy Giuliani's breath. And it's because the green screen isn't lit well enough. Because the light that I put down here is off because I had to pull the power supply for it for shooting something in the other room for Sexy Liberal at the left. Oh, my God. But okay, look. I got us on the air.
Everybody calm down.
Everyone calm down. So, hi, chat room. Love you guys.
I reminded myself of the Will Ferrell, Neil Diamond sketch. Look, everybody, school out.
All around the world today, they're coming to America. Every time that flag unfurls, I probably could do it.
I realized I killed a drifter. Sorry. And now I have to kill a drifter every time just to get an erection. Oh, was that fizzy too? Was that carbonated? Oh, I'm sorry, Hal.
Oh my God. I hit 15,000 subs though today. Look what it took. Oh, that's so nice. Finally, after we got back from that's awesome. Thanks, Act, for reminding everybody. Oh my God, you literally fizzy drink up my nose.
That's the worst.
Your timing sucks.
I'm equally apologetic and proud of myself.
Thank you. You bastard. Can I bring the sound up? Probably. Although let's see. Let's do it on this end. Yeah.
And my friend Sean, who bought the ring light, can't listen today. He's at a job. So is the Twitch going to be able to replay?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So now that we're streaming, it's all in there and all that.
It'll be on the YouTube.
Bonk. And thanks.
This is Damian Perdue of Think Theory Radio. Saturdays at 6 p.m. You're listening to Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide.
So I think we've all seen this movie before. We've seen people, wreck the hotel room on their way out. We've seen the, the GIF of Malcolm X, the Denzel Washington playing Malcolm X, where gets frustrated and just slaps the table. Can't do anything else. Can't wreck everything he's doing. There's no point to it. It's not worth it. But I can slap the table because I'm mad, And we've all seen, I think, the throwing all the stuff off the desk in a fit of madness, because you're just overwhelmed with frustration. Mm-hmm. Trump is in that zone right now. Yesterday he had, after ridiculing Biden, week after week for having lids while he was prepping for the debates, while he was meeting with his coronavirus task force team, doing stuff, knowing full well that it's a very strong possibility that he's going to hit the ground running as president, not having any help during the transition, and having Trump basically pouring like sugar in the tank, on his way out, and throwing sand in the oil, like anything he can to screw this up, right?
And aren't there a lot of people just like in and about the White House who don't want to see that happen, who want to be able to work for another administration?
Well, there are people who will fold over and become, and go back to doing what they're doing, and effectively, I guess, fall into some sort of we were just following orders kind of a zone. But there's a bunch of these folks who are planning on making money outside of government for, in the private sector. And by private sector, they mean either on Fox News, working for the RNC, or working for, their own election security company that they form in the Caymans, right?
Yeah.
There's a bunch of these folks. And again, somebody in the chat just said, I think the mob is after Trump. And Mommy Chickson said, I think the mob is after Trump and Rudy. Very possibly. But I wouldn't know. But I would say that when no one else on stage is sweating and you're sweating that profusely, there's something.
I didn't even consider that.
There's something else really pivoting on this. For you in particular. The people behind you might be true believers who are buying this, hook, line, and they're taking this hook, line, and sinker, right? But that this is all a ruse, and if you don't do this, the bill is going to come due. The debt you have to some gnarly people is going to come due. And this is it. That'll make you sweat. So over the course of the next, couple of weeks, the vote will get certified. Trump is not going to be president by law. He can whinge about it all he wants. But and all these people, these electors that he's trying, he's trying to get to throw the election his way. I'll tell you where I think the fatal flaw in his argument is. And I'm curious what callers might think about this. 773-763-9278 is our number. But in many ways, the general thought is that all Trump voters are racist. All Trump voters are in for a penny, in for a pound with everything that he does.
No.
And it's simply not the case. A lot of them, and a huge majority of them, by the way, vote for Trump because of a twofold thing. One is either they are, sort of ride or die Republicans who believe in what they live on a principle they think still exists within the party, and they can BS themselves about it, or they think it'll get a shot again just as long as you keep it together, right? As long as you don't let it fail, the team's still solid, right? Yeah, we had Michael Vick on the team for a while, and people didn't want to show up for games. But, I'm still wearing the jersey, right, is the idea. And there's a lot of those folks. Those folks are not all in on Trump. They aren't. The problem is Trump's entire legal strategy and his entire political strategy has been based more on a David Koresh, Jim Jones, Charles Manson model than it has been on a Ronald Reagan model. There is a huge difference between the popularity numbers of Ronald Reagan. There's some overlap in the fear of commie zone, but there's a huge overlap in the voters for Donald Trump who voted for Ronald Reagan, who don't consider themselves racist, who aren't interested in the wall even. They think that's ridiculous and a distraction and just some noise he's making to get the rest of to drive the base out, right? Because everybody dog whistles to their base is the theory.
Mm-hmm.
More and more the dog whistles become bullhorns and become the actual policy themselves. That's when you get concerned. But it's not shocking or surprising to the middle of the road voters when their party starts to make some noise to make sure that the people who come out that are on the fringe show up, because the other side is going to turn out their base. This is a battle of the bases, right? That is the understanding. And so a lot of people will go in, they'll allow their candidate to say some stuff that they know is off the rails even, because they know that if the other side gets in, a lot of their stuff isn't going to happen. And they're so concerned about what they believe. And this is where you get, pro-lifers out there who don't care about Trump being disgusting with women and having funded abortions on his own at certain times in his life. They don't care about that fact. What they think is, once he gets in, the right people will get him to follow policy and get him to implement the things that they want to have happen. And you have groups of different political groups doing this all the time. Everybody talks about their candidate that way from all perspectives. So it's not surprising that there are a lot of Republican voters who are, voted for him, but aren't going to throw themselves under the bus. They're not going to go that extra mile. They'll vote, they'll show up, they'll vote down ticket, they'll do a straight Republican line. But in a lot of ways, they're not going to let him manipulate the electors and steal the election. They're not going that far. They'll lose fair and square. And you can't be on the Trump team if you lose fair and square, if you're willing to do that. Trump thinks that winning by cheating actually means you are more capable and clever than your opponent, because anybody can win when they've got all the cards, when they know what they're doing. Competency in itself is an average, according to Trump, because he's, that's why you hire contractors and architects who actually know what they're doing to build your buildings. Nobody in the Trump organization knows anything about construction. Seriously. They outsource all of it. They always have. His dad might have. He doesn't. Certainly Don and Eric don't. It's ridiculous. So,
Don.
Yes, Don. He's going to run for office. I've heard. So this is an ongoing divide in the Republican Party. The battle that's going on in the Republican Party right now is not between the MAGA crowd and the, normal Republicans or whatever. The battle that's going on is between the Trump system of running his organization, his government, and his system, I guess, overall, through graft and through strong arming, and the number of people who just aren't willing to go that far. They'll vote for you, but they won't help you rob a bank, right? They won't. This is, and he cannot understand that. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after the news. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. By the way, let's see, and there's a solid group in here. Now that the video's up and running.
The stream's working.
It's weird. I almost feel calm. It's weird. I don't even know what to do with myself. What is it? You gotta survive. Chicago, is the audio really hot going your way?
Not really.
Okay, good. All right. It was just, there are so many meters in the audio between me and Johnny in Chicago and the stream, and what each one decides is peaking is totally different. It seems arbitrary. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah, so
the level you're sending me is perfect.
Great. Okay, good. Because it looked all right to me, and then I looked over and it was going solid red when I would talk louder, and I was like, no, that's not good. All right. And I'm a plate spinner right now. That's what this job is. Just like, but it stays on the air, and we're here. Yes, our fam is resilient, and you guys are here, and I think it's fantastic. Drywit Geek says, because rich people don't need to know things, Hal. They make money the old-fashioned way. They inherited it. Right. Well, some do. I mean, clearly. I mean, say what you will. Bezos definitely got help from his folks. He got money, but, he started an online bookstore with that money and turned it into Amazon. He didn't start out with the idea of doing Amazon to begin with. And I bet you he could tell you the ins and outs of drop shipping even to this day, digitally, But the Trump organization, none of them know how any of this stuff goes. They're schmoozers. They are in the schmoozing business, and they're living off this, the dangling teat of what's left of their grandfather's empire. Thanks for reminding everybody, Benny Loco. Give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the show. And by the way, if you're here every Saturday, welcome back. How are you? Your dreams were your ticket out. I got to scroll ahead. Trump's golfing while a virtual G20 summit regarding pandemic preparedness is going on. I thought he was participating in part of it. I don't know where Gonzo is. I hope he's doing all right. I think he's mad at me for being right about the election.
Uh-huh.
I was like, it's not gonna, because he kind of was arguing with me that Trump was gonna steal stuff and get away with it. I'm like, no, he isn't. No, he's not. That's not gonna happen. It simply isn't. This down so I can see. Rebuilding my system from scratch. Oh, Gonzo said a while back he was leaving the internet for a while. It's not a bad idea. Hey, he was right up to the election. Go on vacation, man. Some people can afford to. We can. There are some things where it would have almost been nice if you could have been that Japanese soldier who never thought the war was over, and lived in some of the stuff he missed wasn't half bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's kind of good that it didn't exist. So he's like, what happened? I missed that. I missed worrying about that whole thing. Why from scratch? Because I had to disassemble which wires go to what computer. So I'm literally running the camera and the stream out of a different computer, while the what I get to show that stuff is working is happening on the other one. So and mainly because of the update was all. Just because what software will work. I had an older computer that isn't as great, but I hadn't updated the system software to Big Sur yet, and so I could still use the software on that one. So I had to pull everything and hype it through there, and it needed new software that I had never used on there, and yada yada. It's just, you don't need to know. It's just nuts. It's crazy pants.
So crazy.
But in the move, I did find this.
What is that?
It's Attacking the Power of Juju bobblehead. That's my character from my cartoon.
Your cartoon?
On Nickelodeon. I did for 3 years. What
hell
kind of friend? I was Tack on Attacking the Power of Juju on Nickelodeon, and on 2 of the video games.
I have no idea what Attacking the Power of Juju is.
He's a shaman in training who screws up all the time. It was a lot of screaming, quite frankly. It was a lot of me falling down and smashing into things and getting hit and zapped and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. So.
It was a reality show.
Yes, it was. It was very much a reality show. Absolutely. What else? Oh, and I showed everybody this one, but you didn't get to see it. You've seen this though before. I've had this since I was 7 years old.
Aw.
We're back in 30.
Thank you.
Aww.
Yeah. It was in some boxes, that had been in storage for a while. The mom says, that update screwed me over. Yeah. Do you think Junior tested positive for cocaine, syphilis, and gonorrhea too? Yeah, he tested positive for COVID.
You're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I've had people walk out of me before, but not I was being so charming.
Video streaming at halsparks.com.
I don't care for you or for the putrid sludge you're troweling out.
Damn puss-face little pimp stick.
True progressive talk.
Might be a good time for you guys to give up.
By the way, I went through this on my own live stream yesterday when Trump finally came out of hiding and decided to, play some of the hits from his from the last 6 months of his rallies, try to, get the band back together in his head, and came out and bragged about his 2 executive orders about that he calls the America First healthcare plan, which are really just rules on the budgetary use of Medicare spending and allowing states to buy Medicare stuff through Canada, so thereby, living off of what they perceive to be a socialist system, but not being a socialist system. This is the most obvious cowardice on the part of Republicans to literally take advantage of and use the Canadian system while deriding it to their voters to get elected every time. I mean, the hypocrisy, we've already pegged the hypocrisy meter so many times. But it's an absurdity. But secondly, most importantly, is that none of it's actually designed to work. All of it was done through executive orders in the last couple of weeks of the Trump first term, simply because it can be overturned as soon as he's elected, and it's a good PR push right before you get elected. You sign a bunch of those things to kind of make it look like you're doing your job, when your job is to actually help get legislation through by getting your own party on board. In theory, one of the reasons why you get elected as president is to get is the public saying, all right, we know there's a bunch of those folks in there. Maybe this person who's not as far out as the rest of them can get everybody on board and bring them around so we can get some policy done, some actual legislating. But Trump has avoided any legislating at all, is incapable of doing it, never sits for a negotiation, hasn't been there during the CARES Act, the HEROES Act, hasn't been on the line, sends Mnuchin to handle it, runs it basically like his business, which if he was the kind of person who hired the best people in a Tim Apple kind of a way, you could outsource that to the designers who create the iPhone or the desktop Macs and all that kind of stuff. You could trust them to be able to do their job. But Donald Trump is the kind of guy who hires Rudy Giuliani, Alan Dershowitz, and Michael Cohen to strong-arm people, flap around, and hope that they can, either muscle or intimidate people into backing down from legal cases and dropping it just because they feel like they can, I guess, outspend them, deficit spend the other side, I suppose, is the theory. So there is nowhere where you can look at, this businessman is going to take care of things like a businessman and hire all the best people to do this great work. And and then puts people in charge who are incapable of doing their job. Alex Azar, who's his HHS secretary, who was originally in charge of the task force, was removed from being the head of the task force and put, in a backseat behind the incredibly qualified medical mind Mike Pence. When you lose as your job as the head of the pandemic task force, when you're the head of HHS, to the vice president for no other reason than they don't think that you were either asking for too much or not enough money. That story's never been straightened out. Maybe both, considering the quality of the people that he's bringing in. So, Trump himself, came out yesterday and said he's going to, this most favored nations thing, and he's going to, he signed an executive order to get most favored nations on drug pricing, and that we would be able to buy at the same amount as other countries, socialist countries that take advantage of the U.S. economy by buying it cheap while we pay double. That's the idea. That's the thinking in his. Never mind the fact that his executive order doesn't do that at all. What it does is forms a commission to look into why we pay more than these quote-unquote socialist countries, which aren't socialist at all, by the way. It's democratic taxation. They just decide what they want to spend their taxes on, and they think the biggest threat is cancer and diabetes and other stuff like that, as opposed to terrorism. They balance their security payments between the actual threats. Would be a cleaner description of the reality of it. But in the meantime, Trump is arguably taking the closest thing to socialism we have, which is Medicare and Medicaid in this country, wherein taxpayers are paying for the care of others, and that there are some facilities where they can go that are actually government facilities. It's not complete that way. It's an incomplete description, but the closest thing. And has written these executive orders about not changing how Medicare and Medicaid do these things, but looking at why. Looking into it, which will take all of 30 seconds, and I don't know why you could need a commission to do it. And what will eventually result from both of these executive orders that he signed is that they will be challenged in court by the pharmaceutical companies that don't want this to happen. They will, these conservative judges who are pro-business will fold them. They will go nowhere. And this will go down in history as PR hype to try and get elected, which it always was. And the dead giveaway that I don't understand why the Trumpsters themselves don't get this the most is that he could have signed this executive order on day one.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing stopping him. Nothing at all. There was no legal limitations on any of these other than the fact that if he'd put him in day one, his own party would have lost seats in the midterms even worse than they did. And his own party would have fought it in court. And that would have been an embarrassment. Now doing it here, he and the party can wink and nod and know it's going to go away. But somebody told him, by God, that he has to go out in public. He has to go out and say something. You got to get out there and act like you're president. Why are we fighting to change the electoral college so you can stay in the White House illegally if all you're going to do is stuff your face with fish delights and live tweet Fox all day.
What's a fish delight?
You don't know what a fish delight is?
I don't think so.
Trump thinks the fish sandwich from McDonald's, the Filet-O-Fish, he believes it's called a fish delight. I'm not kidding.
How have I missed this?
It's been a story multiple times, and two of the books talk about it because he sends his own kids and Michael Cohen and other people out to get him McDonald's, and he always asks for a fish delight, and they all have to go. He wants a Filet-O-Fish.
He wants a Filet-O-Fish.
Here's your fish delight, boss, which they hand to him in a wrapper that says Filet-O-Fish on it. But he's believed this always. He thinks.
I like how you say that. He's believed this always.
Yes, he is from the first to the last. He believes that the Filet-O-Fish at McDonald's is called a fish delight, and he asks for one every time. And when he gets one, he likes them apparently. Which I mean, it's toddler food. Honestly, I mean, I've in my life I've had a couple over the course of my life.
Sure.
And like I believe most fast food is cat food for humans. You know what I mean? They might as well just open, just out and dump it, and it basically is the same stuff everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Trump wants to add his level of fancy schmancy, speaking of kitty, he wants to add that is his constant thing. You have a grown man who's president of the United States who has been hiding in the residence in the East Wing, I guess, and only rambling down to the Oval Office twice in the last 13 days. And staying, hidden in the residence. And this is the guy, by the way, who made fun of Biden for supposedly being in the basement when Biden was actually practicing social distancing and making a case of it, who literally hid in a bunker when rioters were outside. He was scared and made them take him down in the bunker, and has himself been legitimately hiding from the public for days.
He did drive through the
crowd the MAGA crowd, because I mean, why only endanger the lives of 130 Secret Service people when you can do another bite at that apple? So his poll numbers went up as a result of the Filet-O-Fish or of him going out in public. I think it's that his poll numbers went up because he was hidden. The less you hear of this guy, the more you like him. So, but I would there is a very important distinction. We got to take a break. But there's a very important distinction between Biden, who was literally practicing social distancing, having these virtual town halls almost every day during the campaign, where he was meeting. They kept calling it the basement, even though there was a door going outside right behind him that it was windows and doors, not very basement-like, right behind him during all these live streams, where he would talk to people from the DNC, talk to voters, talk to groups of voters from different states, did it almost every single day on his site, and was talking about social distancing, talking about taking care of, your family and all that by not gathering together. Mm-hmm. While Trump was out creating super spreader events and accusing Biden of hiding and not going out in public. And again, this man always projects. What did he do when he was embarrassed by the fact that he lost to Joe Biden in the election soundly and clearly and by a larger margin than he beat Hillary Clinton by in these 3 Iron Belt states? He hid. He's been cowering in the East Wing, afraid to come out, and has only done 3 things since the election. Because they can't get him to get it together. We'll be
tweeted.
Back. Yeah, well, has he though? A lot of those are staff written. We'll be back.
Yeah. His staff has the all caps came down.
Yes. Trump likes to grab a fish taco. Get out of here.
Oh, come on now.
Biden met with Nancy and Chuck, makes my heart happy. Yeah, they're going to, they got work to do. This is a big deal. This is going to be a lot of work. It's just like, we had all this like hope and change idea about Obama coming in. And then literally right before the election, they take they basically wreck the, okay, no problem. They basically wreck the the economy. And I can hear you, Johnny, by the way. I'm going to mute you just in case you make some fun noises. No, yeah, we're hearing Johnny in the background. Should I just keep it up? He might be going to the bathroom, so I don't think that's a certain level of privacy is necessary. I just think. All right, I'm mute. Let's see. We mute. Yeah, we'll mute this. Yeah. So he's a good friend. He wasn't keeping up his hair color and makeup. He'd given up at that point. Like This Is Us this week, if anyone saw it. Summer watches This Is Us. I can't do it.
1 minute.
Excellent. Yeah, I heard the people crying on Rush's show. Hi, everybody. Thank you guys for hanging in there for the beginning of the show when we weren't online. We're up and running. Whew. Crazy talk. Yeah. P.S. Trump lost. Lost brutally. He will continue to. Excellent, Francie. Yes, we talked about that, Cha-Chenge. We talked about Rudy wiping snot all over his face. Good God. It's difficult. It's friggin' nasty. Whoa.
This is Tom Harmon, and you're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide on Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT.
Right now, we know that Don Jr. Has tested positive for COVID, but he has... hold on. Johnny, you back? I think I can hear you in the background, walking around. I think so. Let me turn that up on there. Obviously, when anybody gets this, the languaging around it becomes incredibly important. Welcome back, Johnny. Your mic wasn't muted, so I had to mute you from my end just in case you made any untoward noises while you were away. Yeah, right. I was just saying, Don Jr. has tested positive. Ben Carson also tested positive. He got it. He got it at one of these super spreader events. And in a Facebook post he published yesterday, he claimed he, quote, became desperately ill with COVID.
Wow.
Yeah. And he believes that he's, quote, out of the woods and his health is returning now that, I guess that it's passing through his system. He contacted it at the election night watch party at the White House East Room. So, and we all remember that, where, Trump wandered out sweaty and griping, not understanding why, we were all set to, we were going to win. It was all set to happen. And then we're not going to let this, we did win this election, that whole thing. Where he kind of, wagged his misery around. This is serious. And when it comes to, Don Jr. and his ilk in that family not taking it seriously, just because he's younger does not mean he's going to be spared danger from this. And I think a lot of people, while they've learned a lot about how to treat this, there's also been a lot lost in the learning process. There are people where they've got it wrong, and it's so variant in everyone's system that they might have a way that they think they've got it locked down, that for whatever reason you don't respond to. That is the history of medical intervention in the world and in life. These are the tragedies. And as they try to figure out, the best case scenario for the vast majority of people who get this, and do their best to improve on it, as they have since day one, there is a very, there's still a very significant chance that people who get this don't know how their body is going to react and how whether or if at all they're going to dodge this. Yes, Herman Cain died from it after attending a Trump rally, where I guess not surprisingly, he would have already had it. He was carrying it. He was distributing it. He was an asymptomatic carrier who carried the disease to the Trump rally and then died of it.
Dang.
And again, the idea that, we know what these treatments are and we know how the long-term effects of them is just absurd. And people are going to do their best to treat the patients that are in front of them with the best treatments that they have available to them. But that doesn't mean they're going to work. Your best chance is just don't get it until such time as it is tourniqueted throughout the populace. Because that's what mask wearing does.
Yep.
That is the crucial aspect of this. Let me back up on and talk to the reality of what we're in right now. That this disease, as we understand it, insofar as its infection cycle, which is, as much as they know, 6 to 8 days, 14 days max, but the window wherein you have it and you are infectious, like other coronaviruses, is about 6 to 8 days maximum. Some will say 4. It is hard to tell, but that's a good window of time. So if it's 6 to 8 days, a 2-week isolation should be enough to keep you, if you have gotten it, from passing it on. Unless you catch it because you aren't paying it, you're not fully isolated in the last 2 days, and then you go out in public carrying it and then end up spreading it and having it yourself. Wearing masks, socially distancing, staying home unless you absolutely have to, and not gathering in crowds keeps this, the virus is like a monkey going between branches. And if that other branch isn't there, it can only hang on to the branch it's on for so long before it drops and dies. That's effectively what you're up against in an infectious disease like this. This is not like AIDS, which lurks in somebody's system forever. And no matter where they have it along the line, you can catch it from them. It has a narrow infection window. So all this crap that people are saying about their rights are being taken away and that their freedoms are being attacked because they are having to deal with a temporary limitation on their own behavior. One Thanksgiving, so you don't lose all the rest of the Thanksgivings with members of your family or they lose it with you. You're going to miss one Thanksgiving. You're going to have one Christmas by yourself, just like the ones you had in college and the one where you didn't go home that one year. Remember that year? Do that again and shut up. Because if you don't, you're the branch. That's what you're trying to do.
I've been training for this my whole life, seriously. I love not seeing my family on the holidays.
I miss mine. I love having big gatherings. We have multiple houses. I traipse my son around to grandparent after grandparent, and we have, we open presents and all that kind of stuff. But guess what? That ain't this year. Life is bigger than that kind of stuff. And if you really do honor Christmas with the family, if you really do honor gatherings like Thanksgiving as family get-togethers, then all the more reason not to. All the more reason to set up a Zoom call amongst everybody and jokingly eat a turkey, frozen dinner, or whatever. This is what you're trying to do. The most important thing you're doing when you're out in public and wearing a mask, socially distancing, washing your hands, is that you are trying not to be that branch. Because if you're not there for the virus to grab onto, its life cycle will end. Then it stops. Then it goes away. And there's a huge distinction, and maybe this is the scars left over from AIDS and the idea of, trying to convince people to wear condoms, and diseases that linger for a long time, like the president allegedly has, that they're, over the course of them, you can get them throughout. You are effectively constantly contagious. That's not the case here. We know this. We know this about nearly every coronavirus. Science will always leave open a window for the possibility that we don't know everything, and that's the important thing. You have to.
Yep.
Where faith comes in science is the faith that you don't know everything. When there's it's easy to believe you do. After a while, some scientists can get lulled into thinking they know all the answers. That's the trick of science. The faith of science is there is still more to know always. That's the faith act. The faith in, that everyone else purveys as far as their religious or spiritual beliefs is the faith beyond knowing. These don't overlap. And we are getting to the point where people are going to be arriving at the pearly gates going, "Why didn't you save me?" And he's going to go, "I told you, wash your hands, wear a mask. I sent people to tell you. Everyone around you told you."
Yeah, it's that isn't there like a fable like what? I sent 3 boats.
2 boats and a helicopter.
Yeah.
The only good version of that is one where you swear, and that's why I don't tell it on the air. But it's one of my favorite jokes of all time, and that's where we are. And this is, honest to God, this is the distinction. If Thanksgiving is coming up for you. All these holidays are coming up. Weddings, those kind of things. All things based on permanence. Thanksgiving, Christmas, marriages, all these social gatherings that everybody is missing, birthdays, they are all celebrations of the continuance of life. They are all about doing it again next year. They are all about, we don't want to miss out on time with our relatives if they die, so we have these gatherings. Well, this situation, you could kill one of them. You could lose all the other Thanksgivings this way. And it is a disease that does not affect everybody the same way. And a lot of people, and I've got to take a break, a lot of people don't know they have it and carry it around. That's the success of this virus.
Yep.
You are helping this virus succeed. Don't be the branch. Don't be there when the virus needs to jump to another host. And you do that by socially distancing, wearing a mask, washing your hands, not touching your eyes and your ears and your nose and your mouth between hand washings when you've been out in public and coming in contact. Wash common surfaces. These are all common practices. But we're doing them not because we're giving up Thanksgiving and we're giving up Christmas this year. We're not. We are affirming the importance of those very things by not doing them this year. We'll be back. These assholes. I
keep thinking about, like, how long can they go without knowing somebody who dies from this?
Well, as in the red states, they went longer because it was all in the highly, like all infectious diseases. It
was in New York and California.
Yeah. It's like, it's why you never see a Spider-Man story in Yosemite. You know what I mean? Because you can't swing between skyscrapers. What do you do? You're limited. So, that part's embarrassing. Somebody's saying Trump poll watchers are what? Sorry? Trump poll watchers in Wisconsin for recount are being a-holes objecting left and right over stupid stuff. Yeah. Well, that's what they're there for. Oh, thanks, Cecilia. I honest to God, that's one of the things that's been bothering me the most about this is this whole freedom thing. That wearing a mask is a violation of your freedom. That this is all about, government control. And you're like, these are temporary. You're not being asked to show up at a government facility and have your mouth sewn shut. And no one is going to. You know what I mean? Like, it's the oddest. Like, I get it when it's policy and they think, like, I get why they think government healthcare, like a government, if there was Medicare for all and no private insurance, why they're going to react that way. They're going to at least, whether they think they'll benefit from it or not, or even understand it, is immaterial. I can understand where they would get freaked out. You could talk them down, you could have a conversation, but I'd understand how they're like, this is the creep of socialism, and socialism is how the USSR was going to get communism. We can't let this happen. Like, I understand your argument. I think it's nuts, but I get where you're coming from. The mask thing being an imposition on your freedom, though, is really odd. Were there folks that cried freedom about condoms? Yeah, I mean, Kinnison, there were comics who had bits about, wearing condoms. That was an ongoing thing. So, yeah, people, and for the first, 6 years, it became part of the zeitgeist. And then it took a while and people caught on because it was a rolling asymptomatic disease, which had 10 years in its cycle. And people had a hard time wrapping their heads around that. And it was a long time before the symptoms showed up and they couldn't figure out, how it affected people differently. And then they eventually came, to find treatments for it. And then they can...
Back in 15.
Thank you. But maybe somebody can explain this to me. What is the freedom? Freedom to kill your fellow Americans?
Yeah, that's the thing.
I'm Dick Kay from Back on the Beat, and here is the Mega Worldwide Radio program with Hal Sparks.
Welcome back to the show. So we were having a discussion during the break about this notion of freedom that people use to decry wearing masks and not social and not gathering in large groups right now during a pandemic. As if this is something we assume to be or desire to be permanent as part of American culture. As if someone is presenting an amendment to the Constitution that outlaws social gatherings. That this is not about dealing with a pandemic, but the removal of the free association clause in the Constitution, Bill of Rights. That's what is being argued. When it is absolutely not. It is the weirdest. I understand a lot of weird arguments. I have to say, one of my skills in life is I have this exercise I do called, okay, but what if I was evil? And I look at a problem.
And then you're like, why did I say what if?
I look at a problem and I go, all right, what is the other side that I'm up against thinking of is a valid solution in this situation? They don't care who they hurt. They don't care who dies. They just want what they want, and they really have no disregard. So what's their strategy going to be? If you didn't care, if you were evil, how would you approach this? And that's how you know how to push back against this. It's the set a thief to catch a thief mentality, or the idea that, that we've seen multiple times in, Thomas Harris books or whatever, where it's the serial killer's worst nightmare is the FBI guy who has serial killer-like tendencies, right? Dexter.
Tendencies.
Well, that they can think like them. They can put themselves in the mindset and, and figure out what they would do and why. You can figure out the motivation. You got to survive. So, I can do that with a lot of these things. Like I said, I can understand, and it helps me, by the way, to articulate my argument to my political opponents in a way that they can hear it. You know, I can understand their argument. I can understand where they're going to go. I can understand their fallbacks, and I can understand their attacks. I do not understand this, they are trying to take away our freedom thing in terms of the masks, though. It is simply a blown switch in their head. You know what I mean? It's just a blown circuit.
And they really need to memorize what their medical condition is. I see a lot of people say, I have a medical condition, and then when they're asked which medical condition they have, they don't know.
Gingivitis.
Chronic halitosis.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. Chronic halitosis is the only medical condition that makes mask wearing a difficulty. Do you have any idea how many masks I have at this point? Like, varying as this has grown from like temporary ones to full face shields. That like
I only have 4. How many do you have?
Dozens. Because they're spread all over the place so that I can have access to them. I have some in my girlfriend's glove box for me in case I go out of the car and I forgot and we went together. We had to go someplace together. So I have mine. I have one I have 2 in my car. Different ones. I have one with an air filter on it that literally filters the air that has that kills bacteria. It's like a bug zapper. But I don't wear it all the time because it's like this weird whiny Darth Vader noise it makes. You know, it's like But you know, again, these I don't suspect, nor does anyone suspect, any more than after the Spanish flu, that the 20s will be about everyone wearing masks. It won't be. As long as we get a handle on this. Once there's a vaccine for this disease, this is and by the way, WWS is saying, Ziggy was saying, the MSNBC said, don't wear those kind of masks. I'm talking about a different kind of ventilator. This one actually has a device on it that's like the UVC light. But anyways, I still socially distance. I still wear all these. But the point I'm trying to make is, I have these things, and I know they're going to be relics in a couple of years. Maybe I'll have one around that I wash and I keep in case I've got the flu or I get sick and I go, I have to go to the store. And I now know it would be a good idea if I've got the sniffles to wash my hands extra and wear a mask when I'm going out, like a thoughtful person. That is how masks will become part of the culture going forward, if at all. And that's only the people who care. But it is an absolute absurdity every time these people decry that they are not being allowed their freedom temporarily during a pandemic that has killed 250,000 Americans. The same people who were fine with the Patriot Act would welcome the government spying on them or knowing the contents of their phone or being able to track them everywhere because of the fear that 19 hijackers are going to kill 3,000 people and blow up, a couple $1 billion worth of skyscrapers. They were willing to change every aspect of what they viewed as ethical behavior on the part of our country towards other countries and other people, change our law system, change their own willingness to be spied on by their own government. These very people, and also the same people who said as soon as Obama got in, of course, that he was going to be throwing them in FEMA camps and locking them away because of their political beliefs. And their evidence was that after Katrina, that the Obama administration was stacking plastic bins for bodies and storing them without recognizing that so many people were put in body bags after Katrina that their bodies were crushed under the weight of the other bodies, and that people couldn't have they had to have closed casket funerals for their family because the bodies were destroyed being under other bodies. And so FEMA and the government went, next time we probably should have a better system than bags for mass casualty events so that people can give their relatives a decent burial and have some closure because we're a first world country. And by doing that, the Alex Joneses of the world and the Glenn Becks of the world painted a picture that the government was coming to wipe you out. And now, because they can't believe that Donald Trump would ever do them wrong, are saying these things because Fauci is is a member of the deep state and is forcing them to wear masks. Yeah, WWS, the plastic coffins, they were plastic body holders, not coffins themselves. Families would still bury them in coffins or cremate people, but they were for the storage in the case of a mass casualty event instead of bags. They stacked them like Tupperware bins, and they have them in the national stockpile in case this stuff happens. Stuff you would think ahead if you go beyond just being able to deal with the threat. We also have a society we want to remain functional. It goes beyond just solving the problem that's right in front of you for a couple of seconds with the cheapest, fastest way you can do it, and towards what is the level of quality care and life you would expect within a country like ours. That is a standard we should seek to elevate to. But what the Trump campaign and the Trump presidency and then the Trump 2020 campaign has shown us is that the goal of the Trumpsters, not necessarily the dyed-in-the-wool Republicans, the ones that just wear an R on their jersey just because they always have, but the Trumpsters themselves are all about a race to the bottom.
Apparently.
The minimum viable product at all times. The lowest level possible. While hyping it as the greatest thing ever. I mean, this is... People, we joked about Ron Popeil and the spray on hair. But Trump's presidency is the Ron Popeil presidency. It's, spray it on, nobody will be the wiser. It's, it's a junk device that will solve the problem temporarily that you'll throw away later. Presenting itself as the thing you've wanted to have your whole life and no household can live without one.
Mm-hmm.
And the irony that at the same time, a mask is that very thing. It lives up to the hype, but it is something every household needs, every person needs, some form, but that ultimately its use will be temporary, and we recognize it.
Yep.
But this idea, and because we recognize it as temporary, and that we're trying to deny the virus that branch so that it can't jump from branch to branch and continue its life cycle, that it stops in its tracks in that 14 days where it lives and dies in a person's system, that it does not reach another person during that time. That's what the masks, that's what the social distancing, that's what the cleaning of hands and common surfaces is for. That's what it's for. Stopping the virus where it is and having it die during its life cycle without spreading and having another life cycle. That's all this is about. With the idea that eventually our goal is that it runs out of places to go and it doesn't continue its spread. That's it. That's all. And then when that's done, go look at the 20s in the United States and understand that that was right after the 1918 to 1920 Spanish flu pandemic that wiped out hundreds of thousands of people, that had anti-mask groups fighting in the streets, that pushed back, that the second wave was more deadly than the first.
They had protest parades.
Yeah. We went through this.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until they had nationwide government mandates and it had killed enough people. Part of the country's saving grace was that there were fewer human beings. They were further apart in general. And when it hit a certain area, a lot of people just didn't see anybody for a couple of weeks at a time anyways. So it started to break it down. Now, we are a multinational country has visitors from all over the world all the time, of course it was going to get here. And of course the intermingling of our society is going to make it spread in big cities first and then eventually reach everywhere else. And now it's reaching the red states and the red districts, and they are not ready for it. And my fear is that the 250,000 people that have died so far, with full mitigation in April, we're going to get to a point where they're not going to take any of these steps in these red districts, and they're not, because as a political choice, and they're going to kill their own family members. We'll be back right after this.
It will happen.
Mm-hmm. What'll happen? They'll view it as the great.
No, I said, yeah, that will happen. Yeah.
It's happening right now. This is, and I talked about this. Last year, this time, I was starting to talk about this disease that was coming around in China, and then eventually in December, I was like, wash your hands, cough into your elbow, and sneeze in your elbow if you're out in public. If you have any kind of infection, stay home. This is bad, and it's coming this way. Because I had just gotten back from China myself, and I'm like, and that was a rare time in my life, and I went to China like 9 times in 2 years. There are a lot of people who just fly back and forth constantly, all the time, monthly. It's getting here. So wherever it is, it's going to come here eventually. And we should have a system in place to deal with this, any disease like this, and be proud to do it as Americans. Oh, we got an outbreak, came from wherever. This time it's from, this time it's from Italy. This time it's from Czechoslovakia. This time it's from Sweden. This time it's from Africa. This time it's from South America. Yeah, you got to watch out. These are the symptoms. If you're feeling sick, wear a mask, all that kind of stuff. But otherwise, avoid this area. We're going to, we'll track and trace it. You get a system,
Back in 30.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. Now time for the happy ending. Yay!
So, I don't know quite how the folks that finally come, what's going to finally bring some folks around. Even though it almost took their favorite president, right? It nearly killed Ben Carson. It did take Herman Cain. I don't know what it takes for them to recognize the threat of this and recognize that the people around them that have comorbidities or issues, that there's almost no way to view this other than to look at it from the perspective that you kind of wish they would go away. That you have people in your family that have extreme comorbidities or issues, and you're looking at this as kind of an unfortunate but necessary cull. That this is, and this points to the Darwinism of the Trump cult. As much as you'll see this mask of evangelical Christianity on top of everything that they do and everything that they allege as far as a behavior, every action they take is based on the illusion of physical superiority on their part and the idea that Darwinism will clear out any of the unnecessary members. And part of it's damage. Part of it's us as a society having gone through AIDS and the opioid epidemic and 9/11 and school shootings and and the Great Recession, which caused an innumerable amount of suicides and the like, that the feelings around those things and the deaths caused by them can be, quite frankly, so group traumatic that we've all gotten kind of numb a little to the potential. And it takes effort to recognize a threat and care about those people. Especially if you're in the South and you're dealing with family members that are, I grew up in the South. I know this idea that when the addict in the family dies, the move to so often is they're in a better place now, so fast. That when you do that once and you use that as a coping mechanism, and it's a valid coping mechanism, and you can truly believe that. I'm not questioning anybody's religious beliefs. But when you do that once in 10 years or 15 or 20 years, because that happened to somebody in your family, that is a part of your life experience that you may express to somebody. But if it happens dozens of times around you, to people you know and people you like and people you don't like and people who work at your office and people who, the grandkid of somebody you went to church with, after a while, it becomes this hum of sadness that you just can't deal with anymore. And that's part of what we're seeing in all this. This is a legitimate aspect of why people aren't wearing masks, why they kind of have this fait accompli attitude towards it. And that's where some level of gentle discussion needs happen with those folks over time. Again, if you're ever in a situation where somebody's just an abject racist or is violent or whatever, write them off. But anybody shy of that, give them an off-ramp. And do your best to try to convince them that there's a way that their alignment with their own good can align with wearing a mask and socially distancing and taking these precautions. That your love for your family isn't why you're gathering, it's why you're not gathering this time. If you can reframe it so that they understand that this isn't about not being with friends, not being with family, not giving gifts, not having Christmas, not having Thanksgiving, not having Hanukkah. It's about having more of them in your life and not losing any. You give one away so that you don't have to sacrifice the whole thing. So my message to everybody, especially as Thanksgiving week comes up, find a way to celebrate. Be creative about it. Take it seriously. Show your love by how you handle it, by how you make it better this year, by what you do, because that's the proof of love is not that, well, we did it. We all got in the same room. We did it again. Mm-hmm. We rubber stamped Thanksgiving this year. Okay, I satisfied my duty as a member of this family and I showed up to Thanksgiving. The way you handle it and the way you'll deal with it family to family will be unique to your own family. And that's what I would urge you to do. Make it unique to your own family. We had to do a socially distanced Thanksgiving this year, so we set out 6 card tables on the lawn. And Grandma put the food on the lawn, on the tables, and then went back in the house. And then we all came family to family and sat at the tables away from each other and waved and played music. And nobody, all that different households stayed separate, whatever it is. There's a way to show that love. The illusion is that you're being asked not to show that love. There's a way to show your patriotism and your love of this country and your support of this flag and the values of America by wearing a mask, by social distancing right now, so you don't do something that is the aim of every terrorist in the world, which is to kill multiple Americans. Your goal is to protect the lives of your fellow Americans. That's your goal. That's being patriotic. The way you do it right now is wear a mask, socially distance, don't gather in large groups if you don't have to, because the larger the group is, the harder it is to trace who had it and who gave it to who, so that they know how to isolate. The small group thing is not only because one person can give it to a lot more people, but also because it makes it harder to find out where it stopped and who has it right now and who needs to take precautions. And then if you have a group of 50, you got 50 people who now have to isolate instead of 10. 5 groups of 10 versus one group of 50 keeps your country, your county, your city rolling. We got to go. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, everybody. Take care of yourself. Take care of somebody else. Johnny Million, I love our socially distanced days together.
It's there. I wouldn't trade them for the world.
It's pretty lovely. Thanks, everybody. And thanks, everybody in the chat room for all the support. Patreon.com/Hal Sparks to support the show. Bits and super chats always welcome. We'll see you next time. Love you, buddy.
Love you,
too. Yeah. It worked. I finally got it up and running. All right. So this
did. Well done.
Great show, guys. I'll see you next week. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks. And by the way, I never asked I don't usually ask if there are phone calls. So if there are during the break, you can just let me know. I know we didn't work that part out. But if anybody calls in, you go, hey, during the break, we got 20 seconds, we got 2 calls. You can just let me know that way. And yeah.
Okay.
Because otherwise, I will just keep yapping. Take care. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right. I'll be better about that next week.
No worries. Okay. Cheers.
Thanks.
I just realized after a while there was no protocol on it. So how's he supposed to? I don't know.
Yeah, how would he know?
And about it told him. Yeah.
All right, ding dong. I got to go back to the old house. We're still moving stuff here.
The old house, the old get together, the old home week. All right. Well, I'll let you go. You're adorable. Take care of yourself, and I'll call you on Thanksgiving and tell you how thankful I am for you.
Aw.
All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right. Love you, buddy.
Love you, buddy. There we go. Hi, everybody. Hi, chat room. How you doing? I can't believe. Wow. I don't know why my mic got louder once the other thing was off. That's strange. We'll figure it out. I don't know. Hard to say. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Good to see you. What's going on? So we have Sexy Liberal tonight. It's going to be a good time. SexyLiberal.com/tour. That's the number. Yep. That's it's at, I think I sign on at like 4 o'clock my time to do that. So those of you that'll be there, I'm so curious what the parts that everybody else is throwing together. We shot a bunch of sketches. Oh my God. And I had 2 sketches. I'm going to release them for Patreon folks and then eventually put them on my YouTube page for everybody else that I just couldn't finish them in time. There's just too much production. Yeah, I definitely need to get... Yes, Billy. Thank you, brother. I need to get some sleep. I didn't get a ton last night because I had to get this system up and running, and then I had to get up at 7 a.m. this morning before the show to give myself an extra hour in case anything went south, and still it did, and I had to switch software, but ultimately the backup of the backup worked. Whew. So, yeah, herd mentality. Thank you very much. And that one stands up. Honest to God, that one will last. Some of this stuff is all temporary. So, am I gonna do an appearance on Stuttering John? He didn't ask me to that I know of. He may have. God knows I could possibly. Hold on, let me see. Sometimes he sends me a message and I don't get it because I'm working and doing life things. Nope. Okay, good. Let's see. Oh, and I did Jeff Dwoskin's I did Jeff Dwoskin's podcast, and that's going to come out on Monday. He's going to send me the links. So that's cool. He just sent me a message. But no, so I won't be on Stuttering John's today because I got this other show. Oh my God, I'm yawning. Sorry. No, I'm going to make everybody else yawn. Oh, God. Yeah, he always... Well, I can't say I blame him. You know what I mean? I'm one of those guests. Why did I sound like Bill Burr just then? You know what I mean? I'm one of those guests that there's no dead air. You know what I mean? Yes, yawning is a bit contagious. It's true. Guys, I'm glad this is up. Yeah, Trump went golfing today, it would seem. And this is not. Where are you? There you go. Whew, you're not boring me. I'm just exhausted. So, yeah. Okay, now the chat room's really jumping too, which is good. Thank you guys. And by the way, thanks for the bits and all that kind of stuff. Christina FF, thank you. And Debbie, Vignette, and Cassie, thank you guys for subbing and gifting the subs. MLG and Sherry and Pauline and Shadowski and Nina Crinkles and the folks and the things. Let's see. Why does that page not come up? And yeah. Thank you, Debbie Vignette, for the cheers. That's really awesome. And let's see. Oh, it just goes those two things. There we go. Hide that for a second. Then I can look. Oh, thanks. Oh, I should move the Venmo thing out of the way. So you. Oh, thank you very much, Countess Carper. Yeah, I'm dragging ass today, guys. I apologize. And yeah, we made it to 15,000 subs. It only took me getting my whole system murdered and having to, it's made me, honest to God, part of the setback that YouTube caused has made me kind of revamp how I handle all this stuff and what my backups are and make sure that they're there. Because I was kind of taking it for granted that I wouldn't get attacked or dropped or have anything go down. So how do you have for Thanksgiving? I'm not vegan currently. I'm omnivorous, but we a vegan field roast. A large parade of Polish bikers rolling up Harlem Avenue in Chicago. Fascinating. Francie, thank you so much. Thank you for the Purple Heart. Trump, please have some humility and help the pandemic have a Scrooge moment. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Thanks, Ben. Thank you, Kristen. Thanks, Suzanne. I try, I'll have Pac-Man on. We'll talk at some point. I don't mind him at all. Yeah, sometimes the demonetization thing. I also will say, dare I say this is a little inside baseball, but I get the feeling from how, there was the adpocalypse that YouTube did a couple years ago, and people still have their post-show tags at the end of their videos. Thanks for watching. By the way, because we've lost our revenue, it's important to blah, blah, blah. All that talk about, becoming a Patreon or those kind of things that people have added as tags about demonetization. And the talk about demonetization a lot is overhyped. That being said, I lost my monetization on for streams on YouTube for 3 months. So, yeah. So I could say it's not that big of a threat, but I think it's just to protect against it in case they decide to, because you can't, it's arbitrary. And, Twitch dumped a bunch of people for relatively arbitrary reasons. One of the things I did was I went back and I unlisted and made private all of my streams prior to, this year, so that I couldn't get copyright strikes on it before I was using my own music and all that kind of stuff. They did it, YouTube, they did it because I got a copyright strike from Universal Music Group for a video that was a stream from 5 years ago that their algorithm all of a sudden found, and they didn't give me a chance to remove it. Most of the time, if you have a video up, they have an opportunity to remove the copyright piece of music or whatever. You can excise it out. You can edit the video or whatever. You get a little warning about it, but it'll say you can't, this video can't be monetized because of that. But in the case of this one, for whatever reason, this 5-year-old video, they just took down my ability to stream. First strike. That was it. What's on my cool T-shirt? Oh, this is Donut Operator's shirt. He's a Twitch streamer. He's a cop, and he streams on Twitch. My cousin really likes his stream, so I bought the T-shirt to support a while back. It's a donut with, I guess, barbed wire and gay sunshine. I don't know what it is. It's the moon as a donut. My cable keeps getting stuck in my shirt. But yeah, so that's what it is. Now I want a donut. Sorry. Well, now I want a nap. So, you like? Oh, nice. Yeah, he's a decent enough dude. Yeah. And I just love that his name is. I have a cop's Twitch streamer shirt from a few years back as well. Nice. Yeah, he does. He does breakdowns and stuff like that, and then he streams or whatever. He's one of those folks that might overlap with Trump voters to some degree, although I don't think so. I can't really tell. I wouldn't know what to presume, but he definitely, because he's with a lot of LE support. No, I don't invest in cryptocurrency. So that I think the assumption would be that he's Republican, but he's one of those guys you could absolutely, have an off-ramp conversation with. It would be fine. Aw, thanks. Thanks, Jeffrey. So anyways, I appreciate you guys. I'm going to, because it was such a tooth pull, I'm going to sign off. I've got Sexy Liberal later on, and I got to make sure this system is set up so that I can do that show tonight. SexyLiberal.com/tour. If you haven't got tickets, you can still get tickets. You can watch it for a year, and we'll all watch all these sketches about Trump next year as like a reunion special and go, oh my God, can you believe we were living through that? Do I invest in kryptonite? Yes, I do. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, for the longest time, there used to be a toy kryptonite light that you could get that I wanted as a kid so bad, because it was like just a plastic light that you could have. And I was like, this is the most awesome looking thing. But ultimately, truthfully, what I've always wanted is a computer that runs on the green crystal in the Fortress of Solitude. Like, instead of discs, you just put crystals in.
Kal-El, my son. Hidden in these crystals is the history of your planet Krypton.
So I'm gonna go rest up. I will see you guys later at Sexy Liberal. I think I don't have my outro music. It won't work, will it? No. Starting the stream. There we go. We'll try this. Thank you guys. By the way, I know what my mom's gonna be doing. UK is playing, so my mom. I'm gonna start getting texts from my mom going, "What? Oh crap." So thank you guys for the Venmo support as well. I greatly appreciate it. It's one of the best ways to support the show. But bits and all that kind of stuff are always welcome, and everything helps. So thanks so much. It's the best thing about the multiple ways that it happens is that if I ever get killed like I was on YouTube, it doesn't take me a month to recover, or 2 months really, to get back up to where. Because we were this close to getting a new camera, and then they capsized that whole thing. Ugh. So yeah, so the backup helps. So any form you can help is always welcome. That's enough. That's enough of a pitch. I hate doing these. I hate doing them. I'm not good at it. One day I'm gonna just have commercials that I play after. I don't know. But yeah, everyone mask up. Please take care of yourself. This is a very rough time. Don't be the branch. Don't do it. And I think one of the lessons of both quarantine and me, kind of lashing this coconut raft of a show together over the last couple of months is dig your well before you're thirsty. Because we're going to be in this for the next 6 months. Yes, the businesses will return. Yes, the vaccine will start to come. But there's going to be a lot to drag out of this. There just simply is. So take care of yourselves. I'll see you guys later. You're wonderful. Thanks so much.